So I wanted to quickly film this video so that I can give you guys an update about the whole missing parts issue I had with the Ranger, specifically the skid plate. I've been pretty busy, so I haven't had a chance to film this video. I actually got to take the Ranger off-road this past weekend, which was really fun. I went up to National Forest Road 7710. And it was it's one of the few that I can find that was open this time of year, and it was really cool. It was somewhat packed ice and I was sliding a bit, but it's a really pretty trail, and if you have a 4x4, I would recommend going up there at least once. I'm sure there's better. I don't really know much about 4x4 now here, but yeah, I'll throw up a clip of that and some pictures I took. But yeah, I'll get to the point about the skid plates, since that's what most people want to know about. So I'll start from the beginning for the people that don't know what's going on. About a week after I bought my Ford Ranger, I realized that the transfer case skid plate was missing. I noticed this because I was walking out of the store one day and I seen these two bolts just sticking out of the frame. And you can go back and check out the video, but at the time I had also thought that there was a trim piece missing from the ignition, and I also thought that the truck was missing cover on the engine. So when I posted the first video, I was pretty frustrated because I thought my truck was missing all these parts. It ended up that the truck was only missing the transfer case skid plate. But when I reached out to the dealership, I didn't hear back from anyone. I contacted the sales department, I emailed the dealership, I called them, I called the service department, and I just wasn't hearing back from anyone. So about after 2 days of trying to reach out to them in Ford corporate, the dealership finally contacted me. Also, Mike Levine from Twitter, I think he works for Ford Communications, reached out to me, and he's been helpful too. But yeah, the dealership's been great. I didn't want to mention the name of the dealership in the first video, but since everything's been resolved and it worked out pretty well, I'll say the name now. It was Molnex Ford in Olympia. They actually ordered the part for me. It took about 2 weeks for them to get in, and then another week for me to get down there. They were also nice enough to hold another Ford Ranger with a similar FX4 package, and they kept it there on the lot so that when I was there getting the transfer case skid plate installed, I was able to put my car next to that one and compare and see if there's anything missing. They also knew I was coming from pretty far away, so they filled up my gas tank, and overall I'm pretty happy with it. They've also been emailing me in the last few weeks to make sure everything's okay and that I'm not running into any other issues. But it does turn out that so I was wrong about the engine cover. The engine cover is something that only comes on the Lariat trim, which is kind of weird. You wouldn't consider like an engine cover being a luxury trim item, but apparently it is now. And also the ignition, sorry, I'm trying to figure this setup out. The ignition ring, the old plastic trim piece, that also just doesn't come on the Ranger at all. I don't really know the reasoning behind that. It's that piece probably is just pennies, and I think it's kind of a stupid for Ford not to include it, because a lot of people's first experience with this truck will be test driving it, and I can't imagine it would be a good experience if you're test driving it and you notice, like, the very first thing you notice on a truck is that it's missing some trim pieces, and then they tell you that's normal. Either way, somehow that got past Q&A, and they determined that's a good way to go with this. But yeah, overall, everything's been resolved with the truck. I'm pretty happy. I don't regret buying this truck, and I'm actually looking forward to all the things I'll be able to do with it over this upcoming spring and summer. And I'm actually really happy with the way Ford corporate and the dealership ended up taking care of everything. I think I actually will head down to that dealership again if I do end up buying another Ford. I hope that Ford fixes the way they're doing their trim, the way they're differentiating it. I kind of feel like instead of like making the Lariat model better, they're just removing things from the lower models. Things that should be standard, like an engine cover. That's kind of a strange differentiator for a luxury model. I mean, the way Ford's handling it kind of reminds me of this this story I have. A few years ago, some friends and I decided to go out and get margaritas. We were at this restaurant and they gave us margaritas, and there wasn't that much salt on the rims, and I really like salt on my margarita rims. So when it came to order the next round, I asked the waitress if I can get more salt on my margarita, and she said okay. And when they brought us all our second round, I looked and my margarita had the same amount of salt. I looked at everyone else's and nobody had salt. So instead of giving me more salt, she just didn't give anyone else salt. Relatively, I did end up getting more salt with the second round. I kind of feel like that's what Ford's doing with their trim levels right now. Instead of trying to make the luxury ones better, they're just removing things that should be standard from the lower ones to make it better relatively to the lower trims. And I really think that's the wrong way to go. But either way, I mean, these are minor things, and I didn't buy the Lariat. Like, I didn't really care about the things that came with that, and I'm pretty happy with the XLT. I just wish they would spend a couple of dollars and give us like a fucking ignition trim piece. But either way, that's the update for now. My Ranger looks like it has all the parts it's supposed to have, and everything's going pretty good with it. I'll probably film some more videos when I go off-roading, or if I do some more trails. If you're in the Northwest, subscribe. Well, even if you're not in the Northwest, if you're planning on visiting this area, or if you just want to watch me explore the Northwest, like and subscribe, and thanks.